Welcome to Poco. Good morning, Tanya.
Hi, good morning. Today we are going to talk about Antoni Gaudí. Very exciting. Also known as,
His full name? Do you want me to say
yes.
his full
Do
name?
you want to do the full name? I can do the
I,
full name.
I'll try it. Antoni Placid Guillem Gaudí Cornet.
Excellent. Yes. So, like a lot of Spanish people, I think he has a very long name,
Yes.
but affectionately known as Antoni Gaudí, or just Gaudí, as most people do. A very, very, very famous Spanish Catalan architect, designer, and I'm sure most of you have, as we have, seen or at least seen pictures of his amazing architecture. But we're going to dive in a little bit to his life and how he got there and things like that.
Yeah, his history. He was born in 1852. So there's a little bit of a debate, inconsistency, as we could say. He
Yeah.
was born in 1852, either in a town called Reyes, which is near Tarragona, which is just south of Barcelona. And that's his birth certificates and documents say he was born in Reus, but apparently he has
Apparently
stayed
he
on many.
thought otherwise.
He thought otherwise. His grandmother must have told him a different story. Who knows? But
Right.
he has stated that he was born in a town named Riudoms. I would say that was a
Riudoms,
Riudoms.
yeah, that sounds. I think it's very, very close, and maybe. I mean, they do birth certificates back then, and maybe they were just like, you can only be born in the main town. I don't know. So who knows, right?
Maybe. Or he
Yeah.
was born in one and raised in the other, but just considered himself born there, right? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Very difficult to know. So that, like, as you all know, we're in Valencia. If you drive a couple of hours north, you get to Tarragona, Reus, and then if you drive maybe another hour, you get to Barcelona. So it's all very. He was definitely in that area.
He's
Anyway,
definitely Catalonian.
he definitely is, and they will take obviously great credit for him and his works up in Barcelona, which is where most of his architecture is. We were just up in Reus, and it's a fantastic town. But I think they have a house there. I think that he had lived in, but other than that, they
Okay.
don't have. I mean, a lot of his architecture and stuff there. Like he moved to Barcelona, and that's where all of his really famous work is.
Yes, I mean Barcelona is dripping in Gaudi architecture,
It
right?
really is. But Reus is a lovely town. I highly recommend a visit there. It was a surprising little stop for us, and we were like, "Oh, this is cool, a happening little place." Oh, and we had really good ice cream there.
Oh, I saw you post that on our
Yes,
reels.
it actually tastes even better than it looked.
Wow.
Anyway, off topic as usual.
Off topic.
He was the youngest of five children. And like you said, he was born on the 25th of June in 1852. And funnily enough, like I said, Barcelona was where he moved to, but it's not surprisingly, all of his properties and designs and everything that he did up there attracts 20 million visitors to Barcelona each year,
Wow.
which is not surprising. I mean, that is stunning, though.
Right. I mean they are the reasons to go to Barcelona, and they are everywhere, and they're awe-inspiring. What I
Yeah,
would say is, if I could just add this in, it's almost like they're like grown-up sandcastles, right? It's just
they
like
are.
they're kind of
Yeah,
like free formed, but you've got the shape, and you've got like all the stuff thrown on, and the tiles and all of that stuff. So it's very whimsical,
it's
right?
very whimsical. And you can walk by and see some of the houses. I will say, a little bit of a disappointment, but I completely understand how it is now. It used to be you could just walk around the park and walk around some of these places, but now, of course, you do need to get tickets to so that they can sort of maintain the amount of people
The
that are walking
crowd.
through to keep it enjoyable for everybody.
Right.
And yeah, absolutely stunning. And we'll dive into how he became the architect that he is. He had great pride in his Mediterranean heritage, and he loved nature. When he was 27, he joined something called the Centre Excursionista de Catalunya, which at the time was an organization that did expeditions to explore Catalonia and southern France on horseback and on foot. So it was obviously that would be a big nature kind of experience at that,
Mm-hmm.
for him at that age, and something that he obviously rather enjoyed because nature became a big part of the sort of inspiration for his designs.
Right, right. And it is also known that he had poor health as a child. He had rheumatism, and it sounds like they put him on a pretty weird diet. I mean, who knows what medicine was back in the day, but
Right.
they had him on this like vegetarian and like and then long fasting, which then like led to life threatening illnesses. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
what you want to
I
do
would
to a child.
imagine I would imagine back then they wouldn't have had the knowledge to really be a vegetarian really successfully, and to combine that with fasting probably was quite dangerous, but
Rudimentary, as they say.
yes, in that era. So he was not a healthy child, and that did sort of have an effect. In he as an adult, he moved to Barcelona to study teaching in 1868, and he did his compulsory military service from 1875 to 1878.
Okay.
And he did join the infantry regiment, but he was basically a military administrator. But even in that capacity, he was on sick leave like all the time, and therefore was able to continue his studies. So all of that, sort of the illnesses that he had, kept him from also fighting in the Third Carlist War, which was what would have happened during his time in his military career, short career, that
Right.
he didn't have because he was too sick to do anything. So he was basically in the military, but kind of not in the military, and carried on studying. So good for us, because that meant he could continue his architectural journey.
Right, right. And he had studied at the uh Yoja school. I
No,
hope I'm pronouncing that properly.
Yoha school.
The no Yoja. I think we pronounced the J. It's yeah, Yoja
Okay.
school, and the Barcelona Higher School of Architecture, and he graduated in 1878. He worked as a draftsman for various architects to help finance his studies.
Which I
You need a
think
job
was,
to go through school.
yeah, but I think that was interesting because you would learn so much as a draftsman, right? And
Right.
that was something like, if you're working doing something completely different, but I mean, being a draftsman was probably incredibly boring, but you would have learned so much about architecture doing
Yes.
that. So to
You would learn
combine,
all the engineering and
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah, but he, in spite of that, he was not doing very well in his grades.
No, he
so
wasn't because
so
the
his he
director.
had it the director, when he gave him the degree, basically said, "We have given this academic title either to a fool or a genius. Time will show." So they did not
Okay.
have great hope for him at that point, obviously.
I guess not. And it'd
No.
be interesting to think what the director thought of his work later, because it is really not of norm, right? It is not traditional
Yeah.
architecture.
It
So
may
he
not
could
have been
probably
considered a genius. Who knows, right? At least the director was smart enough to kind of sort of cover his bases, right? And say he's either
right.
a fool or a genius. We're not quite sure yet. So
Right. And
uh
as we had said before, his work was influenced by his passions of architecture and nature and religion, and he considered all these kind of details in his creations, and where he combined like the crafts like ceramics and stained glass and wrought iron work, and the carpentry of it all, right?
yeah.
It's all and it's almost like kind of thrown together when you see there, but it's not, right? But it like I said, like kids at the sandcastle, you find the shells and you put them on the building, and he's
Yeah.
really taking
It's
his time.
very, yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen any of his work, I mean, it can be very colorful, it cannot be, but I mean, he's using, bits of, I'm sure very intently placed, tile and colorful bits, and
Hmm.
it looks like a really cool imaginary drawing actually brought to life, like that you couldn't
Right.
imagine that someone could take this drawing and actually turn it into a proper piece of architecture, because it's just so different and fluid. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of Salvador Dali, in the sense that it's
Hmm.
just like you have this movement and you have this interesting, completely obscure way of looking at something, and actually he created it with all these elements. And he was also influenced by neo-Gothic art and Oriental techniques. I can see the Oriental because that's kind of what you
Hmm.
were saying. I think that brings it part, and I think it all comes together in such a unique way even now. I mean, no one has done that type of architecture really.
Right.
It didn't, even though he became part of the modernist movement, and there's a lot of things that came from that, no one has really created that type of architecture again, I don't think.
Right.
And that's what I think
Right.
what makes him particularly unique, is that it wasn't copied over and over again in different places, I think, not to any real sort of great
He didn't have a
works.
school that was like, the Bauhaus bred many a copy, right? No one
Right.
was copying his work, right?
Yeah.
And you do see the elements of even like Art Nouveau with the swirling shapes in his things. You see where
Yeah.
he derived his work from, but yes, no one else kind of copied it and went with it. It
Yeah,
kind
the
of ended with him.
combination. Yeah, the combination of all the things he puts together. So when you see these buildings, I mean, and Barcelona has some beautiful areas, but you'll kind of walk and you'll be like, well, that's a Gaudi building, obviously, not just
Right,
because they've lit it up and, made it a thing, but they've really, really made it, you can tell like how different it is. And it's, for him, all the different, there's some sort of main elements. Obviously, there he was using religious symbolism and also some traditional Catalan elements in his designs that were very unique to what he was doing. Very nature inspired, where he
right.
would, like you were saying, the elements of the curves and the arches, organic shapes. The organic shapes are probably what makes it so unique. I think one of the
Right.
things.
And the organic shapes, and speaking of that, you have these like geological formations, right? So like if you do see
Mm-hmm.
the Sagrada Familia, it's like stalactites and stalagmites, right? Like that's what
It
the towers
absolutely
look
looks
like.
like it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and
and he loved color, right? So
mm-hmm.
we know that, right? And again, speaking of the Sagrada, the way the stained glass just lights up the plate, but it's not like normal stained glass. It's not what you're used to, right?
Yeah.
It's very ethereal. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's very, I mean, it
Mm,
is very spiritual in a way,
yeah.
heavenly, right?
Absolutely. And I think those vibrant colors and textures, even in the buildings, you'll see. And I mean, the place where I really see that most is in the park. I mean, it's just the beautiful mosaics, and they are vibrant and colorful, and they're not just using one color. I mean, it's all very colorful and exciting. And
Mm-hmm.
so his way of bringing in these elements, and they're on sort of all of the buildings. I mean, it's very, very interesting.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. And it's very
Agreed.
and it's intricate, right? Like that's the
Yep.
whole thing. It's so how do you and it's almost like these crushed tiles and yet formed perfectly together, right? The way the
Exactly.
mosaic is done, right?
It all comes together really well, and to the
Mhm.
point that before of like it's he liked decoration and architecture and putting them together and not seeing a separation of those two things. So, and you
Mhm.
can really see that it looks like somebody made this beautiful drawing and it was brought to life. I mean, that is exactly
Right.
how it looks, I think, and it's very unique.
Agreed. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, and it's not like someone, yes, like an architect. I've designed these walls and this space, and then you do with what you, and I've walked away, and you do with what you will with it, right?
Yeah, well, and two, you might see some interesting architecture in certain places. Like they've built a building, and then the balconies are really pretty, or the top part of the
Hmm.
building is really pretty, but the rest of it's just a flat building or whatever.
Right.
Like with his work, the whole building is a piece of art. Like every
Right.
single element of it, how the balcony blends into the rest of the building and then comes out again and has a nice swoosh of some mosaic in it. I mean, it's just very, very unique.
I would like to venture and say that it's not architecture, but a sculpture.
There
So there
you
you go.
I think many people would agree with you. In fact, UNESCO would say he has 7 works that are declared as World Heritage Sites, which I think is
Wow.
also possibly pretty might be a record, might be a world record.
For
Um,
one person, I would think so. It's
I
more
would
than I
think
have. I don't know
right.
about you.
I don't think it would be difficult to beat us in this area,
So
but
do you want to read the list and
sure.
go with the pronunciations? Let's see
I'll
how you do.
try. Parc Güell,
Okay.
Palau Güell, Casa Mila, Casa Vicens, and the Nativity facade and crypt of the Sagrada Familia, obviously, Casa
Hmm.
Batillo, and the crypt of the Colonial Güell.
I think you did pretty
Did I
well.
do all right there?
I think
And
so.
it was
Yeah.
7. How's that?
It's 7. I'm just gonna say though, if I could nitpick here, 3 of them are in Guel, so should that just be one site?
It really should, but I suppose each of them was designed separately.
Hmm.
So I'm just gonna say that they're different. Like the
Okay,
park,
we'll give
the
them. We'll
park
give them
is,
that both.
yeah, the park is a huge, like its own thing. So he could have designed a palace and not done a park. or vice versa,
True.
right? They don't
True.
necessarily go
True.
together. So I'm going to defend them and him and say, yes, in fact, he should have more. I mean, the Sagrada Familia is like so big that you could have one for each little tower, maybe, you know?
Right. And they're the thing, we're gonna do another Poco on the Sagrada, so stay tuned for that. But it is something that they are continually working on. It had stopped construction for a long time, but now there's a massive effort to try to get this thing finished.
Although I
Maybe in
think
our
I have a
lifetime.
feeling people might be a bit disappointed if it ever gets finished, because it's sort of
Right.
been being built for like 150 years or something. So I
Right.
mean, it's like, do we have to finish it? And I don't know. There's always something to do. If anyone has a house, they know that. Just keep building.
Right. Well, I think that's it, and I hope you enjoyed our Poco a Poco, and
Yeah.
stay tuned for more.
Stay tuned for more. Bye. Thank you for listening to Our Spain Poco a Poco. Since you love us so much, please do go on to our social media and follow us and like us and subscribe where you're listening, because it really does help us to grow and stick around and do what we are very much enjoying doing.
And, give us a shout out on the social medias. Give us a comment on what you would like to hear us talk about. I mean, we like to hear ourselves speak, but we do want to make this, informative for our listeners.
Absolutely, yeah. You can comment on one of our posts, or you can send us a message through our Spain Facebook page or Instagram. So we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. Till the next episode.
Bye.